What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another video on GridIron Flock TV. Bring you another video, and in this video, we're gonna be going over Zay Flowers calling out John Harbaugh when it comes to the practice, the intense, the heavy loads, the intense drills at the end of the season. That may be an issue that's what what's causing the injuries at the end of the season. When it comes to important games, we losing all these key players at the end of the season, man. And that's been something that has been a problem in the Ravens organization. But let's hear about what Zay Flowers had to say. Let's listen to him.
Y'all was tackling down there in practice? Y'all was tackling in practice?
Bro, we full pads.
Oh, I'll be real. I ain't with that.
The NFLPA on the line.
However many practice pads you can get,
Yeah.
Oh, you getting them?
every single one.
100%.
Jesus.
Bro, we doing one-on-ones week 17.
What?
Yeah.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie. Right. Why my ankle hurts?
Week 17, we doing one-on-ones. Everybody out there, we tired. You still going.
Physically, your body, like, how you manage that though? You know what I'm saying? Like,
That's why low key. That's why we had a lot of like injuries.
injuries, yeah.
Because how we practice, how we went.
Now let's think about that for a second. You heard what Zay Flowers said. You got your Pro Bowl wide receiver calling you out, saying that at the end of the season, we dealing with heavy loads of drills, 101s, full padded practice. We hitting in practice at the end of the season. I'm talking about going into Friday practices. They still hitting full pads. Coming on Saturdays, these guys are dealing with, little nicks and knacks from the practices. You know what I'm saying? They gotta get in a cold tub and a hot tub. He even expressed that, being in the cold tub and the hot tub. Like, that's just crazy when you listen to it. Like, thinking about it, man, you think about those key games. We didn't have certain players when it came to those key games, and we thought it was injuries that came about in the game. But those injuries that came about in the game was due to practice. Like, don't get me wrong. Yes, you want your players to be strong, to be physical when the game comes, but you can't be having your players do too much throughout the week, especially when we're going into the end of the season, especially when we're looking at being in the playoffs. We can't be putting on that heavy load on the players, man. That just don't make sense to me. Just don't make sense to me. And when you listen to, Zay Flowers, saying these things like, going into week 17, players were already worn out, due to the drills. You talking, he's saying that even in a hotel, he had to, get the cold tub in the hotel before the games on Sunday. Like, Sunday morning, on game day, he getting the cold tub. You got to have a workload management when it comes to practice. Like, yeah, even if we losing games, you can't take it all out on practice and be like, oh, okay, now we about to be more physical in practice, and that's what caused us to win games now. Like, no, we need to have a workload management. We need to make sure our players are fully 100% on Sundays. They're not worn out. They're not in pain. They're not sore from practice. Running a lot of routes. He even talked about, he said he was doing like between 4,000 to 5,000 yards as far as like running yards throughout practice throughout the week. And then come on Sundays, he's running even more. You know what I'm saying? So, like, that's just a lot of workload. That causes players to get tired towards the end of the season, and that's not good, man. I appreciate John Harbaugh, for everything that he's done in the Ravens organization. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that overall he was a bad head coach, no. But definitely when it came to the workload management in the last few years, just listening to Zay Flowers, what he said, it makes sense. I mean, we can't be losing key players at the end of the season, man. Going into these games with second and third string players, you know what I'm saying? And it's causing the first string players that we have out there to pick up the slack, you know what I'm saying? And now that's putting us even more in a bind when it comes to the games. And this is a big deal, man, because this is not just a regular person commenting. I mean, this is a key player on a team that's talking about the team culture. And if we think about those times, back in a few years ago when we missed the playoffs, we lost key players when we had missed the playoffs. Like I said, previously, we thinking that it was due to the games, but they getting injured in the games because of the workload in practice throughout the season, even at the end of the season. So just Zay Flowers is talking about the team culture. I mean, that just plays a lot as far as the team not winning, key games. We're not having the key players there. We're not having certain starters there because they're hurt all the time. But now we know why they hurt. Now we know why they had injuries. you know, at the end of the season and why they wasn't present in those games. Zay Flowers even talked about meeting Jesse Mentor, you know, meeting him for the first time and hearing about the news, and you know how it really shocked him that it happened, because you know all he knew was John Harbaugh being the head coach for the Ravens, you know, growing up and stuff, and then getting drafted to the Ravens and John Harbaugh coming to him, you know, in a pre-draft meeting saying that, hey, we go draft you. Hey, Lamar Jackson, my quarterback, he asked about you. He told me to take you. And he even gave him the guarantee, like, hey, we go draft you in the first round. And it happened. So, you know, it's not just all negativity and bad things for John Harbaugh, but what Zay Flowers was saying was, hey, the workload management could have been better. You know, if that could have gotten fixed, things could have been, the results of things could have been better. You know what I'm saying? As far as the team being more fresh, the players being more fresh, you know, us having those players for the key games, you know what I'm saying, for us to make it into the playoffs, you know, and even with us going into the playoffs, us being healthy going into the playoffs, it's never bad to listen to your players and, you know, listen to what they saying as far as, you know, how they feeling. You know, that stuff matters. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, don't get me wrong, we could be physical in practice, but when we get to the game, can we have that same physicality? You know, if we don't, that doesn't mean that it's bad because we don't. That means that we took on too much of a load throughout the week in practice. You know what I'm saying? So that will cause us to have a bad game because we taking up too much of a load in practice. I also wanted to make a point that, you know, even Zay Flowers talked to Jesse Mentor, and Jesse Mentor mentioned to him that, you know, he understands the process and the system that John Harbaugh had.
Like, yeah, but I talked to the new coach. He worked with Harbaugh in 2017, so he know how I was. Like, he know that how we work with Harbaugh. So he like, you gonna get your work, but like it's gonna be a little bit easier, like on your body. Right. You're gonna be fresher for the game.
Right.
So that was the first talk I had with him. Like, hey, how practice gonna look?
Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah.
Bro, on Friday, like we run it all week. Then Friday, Saturday, I'm like, damn, my legs.
You still shot.
Yeah.
And he's not saying that, oh, it's about to be a bunch of light practices over here. No, it's not gonna be nothing like that. We're gonna still get our work in, but it's gonna be more of a balance. And that's what Zay Flowers wanted to hear from Jesse Mentor. And, you know, that's just something that he mentioned that's going to be different going into next season with Jesse Mentor, that it's going to be a lot of workload management when it comes to practice. So guys are not so banged up. They're not so sore for Sunday. And we don't have to worry about so many injuries at the end of the season. So when you put all this together, I mean, this just isn't about, you know, practice. You know, this is about the philosophy. Do you believe in pushing players to their limit, or do you believe in protecting them for game day? You know, also, you know, when it comes to the Ravens, you know, they made it clear when it comes to the new path, you know, of the new system of things. You know, Zay Flowers, you know, looking into the vision of Jesse Mentor, you know, understanding his vision, understanding what he wants out of his players. You know, he wanted our players to compete at a high level every game day on Sunday or Monday nights or Thursday nights. Whenever we have our games, he wants us to be at a high level in 100%, and, you know, not going into the game so banged up for practices. So that just another point to make. But I want to hear from y'all guys. I mean, do you agree with Zay Flowers? Do you think that practice, you know, should be a lot lighter and more focused on recovery throughout the week? Or do you think guys should be having a heavy load of practices, being physical at practice, going into the weekend before the games on Sunday? Let me know in the comments. Let me know how you feel about the whole Zay Flowers situation. I appreciate everyone watching these videos on GridIron Flock TV. I'm going to be bringing you more videos. Like, share, subscribe, man. Appreciate all y'all. We out.